We hear from Mark Andrews for the first time since the playoff game. Derrick Henry has a message for Ravens fans. Kyle Van Noy makes the Pro Bowl. Ronnie Stanley makes the Pro Bowl. Zay Flowers, unfortunately, will not be at the Pro Bowl. And we're going over all of the Ravens practice squad signings and future deals. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. How we feeling today? I got a little burst of energy yesterday when Derrick Henry, after the end of the season press conference, I don't know if he was waiting to hear that from Eric or if they had talked privately, but right after the end of season press conference, Derrick Henry goes on Instagram and in all caps puts a "run it back." I made a video yesterday talking in detail about the Ravens end of season press conference and everything that we learned. And in that, we talked about Derrick Henry and how Eric DeCosta said that he's super excited that he's still on this roster for next year. And then we get this "run it back" from Derrick Henry. And I think a lot of this Ravens roster is going to be the same. It is kind of a run it back. I think maybe Ronnie Stanley is up in the air still. But we pretty much know who is going to be sticking around and who's not going to be sticking around. We obviously could always bring in more talent and add more free agents, but it doesn't seem like the Ravens are going to be losing, a bunch of players. I think Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCary are definitely ones that are up in the air and could be gone. We got a ton of contracts that are going to get restructured. A lot of extensions I think are going to get done, which is going to free up quite a bit of money. And then we got free agency. We got 11 picks in the draft. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to add to this roster, but the core of it is intact, including the coaching staff. So I agree with Derrick Henry. It is a true run it back. As bad as that sounds right now, I know we're very far away from getting back into the position that we were just in, and we need a lot of things to go right. But it is refreshing, and I did get a little dose of hope and optimism and excitement for next year. Mark Andrews just spoke for the first time on Instagram since the playoff loss. He said, "It's impossible to adequately express how I feel. I'm absolutely gutted by what happened on Sunday. I'm devastated for my teammates, my coaches, and Ravens fans. I pour every ounce of my being into playing at the highest level possible because I love my team and the game of football like nothing else. That is why it's taken me until now to collect my thoughts and address this publicly. Even though the shock and disappointment are unlike anything I felt before, I refuse to let this situation define me. I promise that this adversity will only make me stronger and fuel us as we move forward. I thank everyone who has shown me and our team genuine support these past several days. Despite the negativity, I've seen heartfelt love and encouragement, including from those who have generously donated to the Breakthrough T1D organization. Even when the moment seems darkest, perspective can reveal that there's still a lot of light in this world. I'm now going to do my part to bounce back and contribute to it. God bless." I love everything Mark said. I hope he does use this situation to fuel the rest of his career and next season, and especially if he's going to be a part of the Ravens' future. It sounds like he is. Yesterday they said that he's a huge part of the Ravens' future. So we're rooting for you, man. We're rooting for Mark Andrews. We never weren't rooting for Mark Andrews. We're pissed, obviously, like I said in the post-game video. If you guys watch that, you can be pissed at Mark Andrews for the drops and for not playing up to the standards, but also feel for him. You know what I mean? There is both. I think both feelings are completely human and acceptable, and I feel that way. I love Mark Andrews. I'm supporting Mark Andrews. I'm rooting for Mark Andrews. Also pissed that happened. In some more positive news, Kyle Van Noy made the Pro Bowl. He is going to replace TJ Watt, and it is well-deserved, man. Career year for Kyle Van Noy, off the couch a couple years ago, 12 and a half sacks. And I think really the Ravens committing to Van Noy and letting him be a true pass rusher has really elevated and extended Kyle Van Noy's career, because earlier in his career, a couple years prior to Baltimore, he was hopping around a bunch of different teams and they were using him in a variety of roles. And he is a very versatile player, but at this stage of his career, I think he just wants to hone in on pass rushing and getting to the quarterback. And that's what we've allowed him to do. And he's just excelled with that, man. So congrats to Kyle Van Noy, well deserved. Ronnie Stanley also makes the Pro Bowl. He will be replacing Laramie Tunzel, so congrats to Ronnie Stanley. We get 2 more Pro Bowl additions today in Kyle Van Noy and Ronnie Stanley. And then on the flip side of that, Zay Flowers will not be at the Pro Bowl, so he was voted into his first Pro Bowl, but he's not going to get it. If you don't go to the Pro Bowl, it doesn't go on your resume. So us Ravens fans will remember that Zay Flowers was voted into the Pro Bowl, but when you look back a decade from now at Zay Flowers' resume, he did not get a Pro Bowl yet. He is not a Pro Bowler officially, so that sucks. He deserved it. 1,000-yard receiver, first Ravens Pro Bowl wide receiver ever, is going to have to be extended until next year. I'm sure he will come back and have another Pro Bowl season, but he did not get in the Pro Bowl now, and that knee injury is obviously pretty serious, and we knew that. I mean, when he sat out 2 games in the playoffs, and he was saying that he could have a chance to come back for KC, but the fact that he's not 2 weeks later after the Bills game, still not going to be at the Pro Bowl, that knee injury is obviously priority, and the rehab of that is priority. And Eric DeCosta talked yesterday saying that surgery is still an option too. If they want to be sure that they've healed the knee properly, they could always operate on it. So I think that's still up in the air, but he will not be at the Pro Bowl, and I'm just wishing Zay a speedy recovery, and do whatever you got to do, man, to get back to yourself next season, because we need you. And the last thing I wanted to go over, this happened a few days ago, but the Ravens have signed a bunch of players to the practice squad and future reserve deals. A few names that stood out from this list that were kind of flashing in the preseason and in training camp in the offseason last year: Corey Bullock, Malik Cunningham, Devin Leary, Dayton Wade. That's a name that stands out. Dayton Wade flashed a few times in the preseason last year, and a lot of these reserve deals obviously aren't, game changers for the roster. I don't think it's going to make or break the Ravens in any way, but I definitely think it's something to talk about and be aware of and just kind of know who's sticking around. So we'll see a lot of these guys in mini camp and training camp and the preseason, and see if anybody can kind of step up and make the team. There's a lot of potential options there. We saw some flashes from some of those guys, and there'll be more guys battling for practice squad spots this offseason, as we do the draft and bring in undrafted free agents, and we'll have a lot more names to add to the pool. But keep an eye out for these guys to see who takes a leap and makes a name for themselves, if anybody. It doesn't always mean that somebody's going to launch off the practice squad and play a big role for the team, but it's just kind of nice to keep an eye on who's who and who's where and who's sticking around, and that's the list of players that will be here. But that's it for today, guys. Drop some questions in the comments. I want to screen grab some questions and just have more things to talk about with you guys. I'll post your question in the video, and we'll just do that at the end of some update episodes. I think that's always a cool way to interact with you guys, and also just talk about things that I'm not even thinking about. I'm sure you guys have things on your mind that haven't crossed my mind today, so it's nice to kind of collaborate in that way. And you guys ask a question, it gets me thinking about a whole topic. Who knows, I might make a whole video about your question. But drop some questions in the comments. Keep doing that. I might not answer it in the comments, but if I don't answer you in the comments, it's probably because I'm screen grabbing it and going to use it for a video too. Ask anything you want about the team, about life, whatever, man. Just ask any question in the world, and I'll be talking to you guys a lot throughout this offseason, so I'm excited to kind of add that segment onto the update videos as well. But I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.